The 5 tablets that are deciphered in The Richest Man in Babylon talk about a man who actually went and put down a specific plan with specific purposes and specific problems, and how he would tackle those problems. And obviously, the main plan was to get out of debt. But that was not all. To get out of debt is what everybody wants, but that's not all you should aim for. You want to aim for means, the means to provide for your family. You want to aim for self-respect. And you only achieve self-respect by keeping your promises to yourself. That's how you trust yourself. You learn to trust yourself when you keep your word, your promises to yourself. And when you do make promises, make them wisely. A man of his word won't just make empty promises left, right, and center. They know that the moment they make a promise or give their word, they got to stick to it. A person like that applies some wisdom before just making any promises. So the aim for this honorable man with this plan that he engraved on the tablets was to have means, to have self-respect, and to be debt-free. Let's dive into it and see how we can apply the same. Number 1, you need a clear and actionable plan. Write it down or put it in Excel, but monitor it and review it. Put it down on something. Make the commitment. It should have a clear purpose. When it comes to being debt-free, not just one purpose, but a couple. Purpose number 1 should be to provide for future prosperity. We do that by setting aside 10% of all that we earn, which no man or no institution has claim upon, and investing or putting that 10% to work wisely. And the sole reason of that is for it to multiply. That's all that money does, forever and a day. You're not going to use it. That 10% multiplies. That's it. Purpose number 2, the plan has to provide for your family. To provide a home, food to eat, clothes to wear, will put self-respect into any person's heart. We do that by setting aside 70% of all that we earn to eat, sleep, live, and find some enjoyment. The Jews do this with only 50% of the income, right? The rest they put aside, or they put to work, or they invest. No wonder they're such a wealthy nation. Purpose number 3, the plan has to pay for your debt. This is where this specific plan helps for any person that is over-indebted, right? If you are over-indebted, to clear that debt, you use this plan. You set aside 20% of all you earn, and you divide that equally and fairly amongst all your creditors. The trick here is to divide it equally and fairly. This might be difficult for many people in today's day and age, because I know each and every creditor wants what you agreed upon, right? The payment that you agreed upon. But I promise you, it was just as difficult 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, and it's going to be just as difficult to divide it equally and fairly amongst all your creditors in 2,000 years from now. It's a difficult conversation, but it's the easiest way to do it. No person can pay off their debts with a good spirit, a positive heart, honor, and self-respect in their heart if they do not have the means to provide or to plan for future prosperity, which is your first 10%. You pay your first 10% to yourself. And if they cannot provide for their family, a man that is constantly anxious, that can't provide for his family, that has to look into his wife, or she has to look into her husband's eyes, right, with resentment or with shame, it's extremely difficult for you to plan for future prosperity and with a good heart pay off your debt if that's your situation. So the only person that can take you out of this situation is you. And like I said, yes, it's going to be a difficult conversation, but you got to choose. Do you want to have a difficult conversation, or do you want to have horrible circumstances? First 10% to your future prosperity, then you pay 70% for taking care of your family, providing a roof over your head and your children's heads, providing food, clothes, and some enjoyment. And then lastly, 20% to your creditors. I'd rather have the uncomfortable conversation with my creditors than have the horrible circumstances in my heart, in my mind, in my family, with my finances. Trust me, toughen up, have the difficult conversation, call it what it is, say it as it is, and commit to the plan. It works. I've tried and tested it. It was a lot more effort in ancient Babylon to go and engrave such a massive plan on a clay tablet. At least me and you today, we've got the luxury of pen and paper, right? Even better, Excel. It's just a matter of, do we want to help ourselves or not? Most people don't want to help themselves because they can't sit down for 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, and write down every single problem, possible solutions, commitments, and how they're going to take action on it. That alone will get you 60 or 70% there. The power in this lies in actually listing the problem, the solution, the actions and commitments that you will take. And don't ignore the details. List every single creditor, every single amount, and every single percentage that you will allocate to that creditor. Now, there's a couple of things that one can do, right? When I was heavy indebted and I wanted to get out of debt, I took a bit of a bolder approach. I said that I'm going to pay a certain percentage of my income to my creditors, but instead of dividing it equally and fairly, I'm going to be honest with you, I just knocked the smallest ones out the park, right? And every small one that I knocked out, if I started saving 3 grand on one creditor, then instead of, let's say, allocating 20 grand a month to my creditors, now I allocated 23 grand. Then I hit the next one. And if the next one saves me another 2 grand a month, now it's not 23 grand a month anymore. Now I can allocate 25 grand. And I just did this whole snowball effect, and you know, that's how I got out of debt. And look, maybe it's not the most honorable way to get out of debt, but I got out of debt a lot faster. I'm not saying you should do the same. I'm just saying at that stage in my life, I was fed up. I really did not give a crap anymore. And if you actually go and plan this out, you list every creditor with all of the amounts that's outstanding, and you figure out, listen, okay, if I divide it equally, you can go and plan it, and then you'll see perhaps it's going to take you 36 months to get out of debt. But if you do it with the snowball strategy, it'll take you 19 months to get out of debt. But yes, the snowball strategy is a bit more difficult. That's not just allocating 20% of your income to your creditors, that's accumulating percentages and, you know, constantly adding more and more and more. The question is, how badly do you want to get out of this situation? How quickly do you want to get out? Irrespective of what plan you choose, here's the reality. If you do not go and get a different plan and implement that different plan, then clearly you are going to remain in financial slavery because the current plan is not working. The current strategy is not that great of a strategy. Just choose what difficulty you want. There's nothing wrong with phoning up each and every one of your creditors, no matter how pissed off they're going to be, phoning them up and saying, listen, you fucks, my only resource to pay you guys that I have is my ability to earn. I cannot earn more if I do not pay myself first. Perhaps don't include that, but you can explain to them that you cannot earn more if you are anxious all of the time, if you can't feed your family, if you can't provide a roof over their head and make sure they get to school, or you put petrol in your car and you can actually make it to work to get some money and pay them back. Trust me when I tell you this, they're going to send you all sorts of letters of demands and this and final warning, blah, blah, blah. If you pay the guy 50 bucks a month, even though your premium is 2,000 rand, trust me, they can't do jack shit. At least you are paying. You are still making an effort to pay. And every time they call you up, just remember, that guy that's calling you, he's got to call people that owe money for a living. All of those people are mad, anxious, and angry all of the time. Trust me, he's having a worse day than you. Just pick up the phone and say, how are you, my brother? Hope you're good. This is what it is, my man. I can give 50 bucks. You got to wait a little bit longer, but I'm going to get there. I promise you, I'm going to clear the debt. You can phone me tomorrow again. I'll make some coffee and we can have a lucky chat again. Just brush it off. Don't make too big of a deal of it. It doesn't matter what the person on the other end of the phone says. It is in their best interest to allow you to pay off your debt. This is the only way that all parties get what they want. And if you do find yourself in a situation like this and you got to implement a plan like this, embrace the pain. I'm telling you this out of experience. Embrace the pain because it will transform into wisdom. And if you paid a very expensive price for your financial freedom, trust me, you're going to put a lot of value on it. And you're not going to stumble again for anything stupid anytime soon again. The luckiest man in Babylon is a story about a slave called Sharu Nara that got sold into slavery because of the actions of other people. Every powerful story needs a shocking start, right? It has to shock the listener in order to grab his attention and make an impact. And this is how the story starts, right? It's this wealthy merchant and he tells a young boy about how he was a slave a couple of years ago. And even though circumstances and the actions of others tried to brutally break down this man's spirit, His salvation was the philosophy that he carried. First, Sharu Nara got sold as a slave because his father couldn't pay the debt of his drinking and gambling brother. A philosophy of hard work and ambition allowed him to climb through the ranks with his new master. He became a profitable entrepreneur. He became a person that made a lot of money for his master. However, his master fell prey to also drinking and gambling. He started accumulating debt and he couldn't pay his debt. And once again, Sharu Nara had to pay the price of circumstances and other people's actions. The gold lender collected his title and he sold him to recover some of the debt that his master accumulated. He sold him into hard labor, terrible circumstances, and just before this man's spirit almost broke, he found a little bit of luck. And for a very, very hard bargain, a friend of Sharu, Arat Gula, bought his freedom. And the only reason this happened is because of the philosophy that Sharu Nara carried. A passion for hard work, a kind and positive heart, a willingness to serve, and dedicated ambition is what inspired Arat Gula to buy this man's freedom. Sharu's philosophy added so much value to Arat Gula's life, because in seeing this philosophy, it inspired him to also adopt it in his own life. You see, the powerful philosophy that he got from Sharu was 1,000 times more valuable than the gold that he had to pay for Sharu's freedom. There's extremely powerful lessons in this short story for me. Number one is that hard work is good for a man. In it, you will find what you are made of. Number two, doing good work is a beautiful privilege. In it, you will find joy, honor, and self-respect. Number three, no work to do is a terrible downfall for any man. With no purpose, no responsibility, and no progress, a person becomes bored. Bored people seek amusement, and they pay for it with their honor and self-respect. Number four, take responsibility for everything and everyone around you. At least that way you have some control. People can do stupid shit, and you can end up paying the price for it, even though it wasn't your fault. So, if you're going to be ending up paying the price, you might as well take the responsibility from the beginning. At least that way you can try and avoid some of the crap that they get into. And number five, and most importantly, the greatest wealth that we can have in this world and that we can pass on to future generations is an empowering philosophy. A philosophy of I can, I am responsible, I am capable, I will make work my friend, I will be kind, I will pursue truth and knowledge, I will have honor, self-respect, discipline, I will prevail, I will do my best. That's the type of person who always ends up being lucky. You know, I resonated a lot with this story, and it made me think of my journey to the States as an H2A worker. And I've spoken many times about this. You know, that was one of the most painful experiences ever for me. It was really suffering for me. But the suffering and the pain that I experienced wasn't because of the hard work. Right? We South Africans, we outworked all of the rest on that farm. We are built different. Trust me when I tell you this. But picking up heavy things, shoveling concrete, 12 hours a day, my hands standing like this every morning when I got up, my body aching, that was not what almost broke or crushed my soul. What almost broke or crushed my soul is that I was there because of my own actions, my own stupidity, my own foolishness. I could have avoided being there. Today I'm very thankful that I went there because I discovered something great within me. The pain that almost crushed me was the pain of knowing that my Creator gave me everything and I could do extraordinary things. I knew deep down in my heart I am capable of doing extraordinary things, but somehow I found my ass shoveling concrete millions of miles away from my family and the people that I love, the people that I want to inspire. It felt like my soul was crying. It felt like I saddened my Creator, that I saddened my family, that I saddened myself. When grafting there, I felt my higher self looking at me with tears in his eyes. And that's where I finally decided that I don't care whether I failed or not. But if I do fail, let it be whilst I gave it my best shot, not because I'm half-assing life. My reason for failing, possibly failing in the future, can be anything except for bitching out or quitting. That's where I decided that I refuse to be my own destroyer. I refuse to quit. I will not fail at being great because I didn't even fucking try. Every great story that we discussed in this book and that you've ever heard is about somebody who really gave it their best shot. The people that give it their best shot are the ones that inspire us. They are the ones that decided, I refuse to quit. I'm going to try, and even though I'm scared, I'm going to be brave enough and try anyway, give it my best shot, and hopefully I make it. If you fail, so be it, but do not fail because you half-assed it. Let's draw from the inspiration in all of these stories. Use that energy, that fuel, and also become people that take action, that are brave enough to not quit. People that will also inspire others to do the same. And let that be a ripple effect of greatness. I can't think of anything greater to do. We have access to the knowledge. We are showing up here every Tuesday morning, pursuing it, dissecting it, talking about it, sharing it with each other and other people. We're already 60 or 70% there. We just gotta maintain, just stay consistent. That's how we're gonna make an impact, not just in our lives, but in the lives of others as well.